The 80s gave us a lot of so-called kids movies, and some of them were straight-up nightmare fuel. Electroshock therapy, human sacrifice, screaming severed heads, cartoon villains that haunt your dreams 30 years later. These weren't just a little dark. They were emotionally scarring, and somehow they were rated PG. Let's look at the ones that messed us up the most. Let's kick this off with the Transformers the movie. Yeah, the animated one. First off, it's got the most 80s soundtrack ever. You've got Weird Al doing Dare to be Stupid, Stan Bush's The Touch, which, by the way, ended up in Boogie Nights, and even Orson Welles voicing a giant robot planet named Unicron. That was literally his final film role before he died. The man went out playing a cosmic robot that eats worlds. But the thing people remember? The trauma. They slaughter almost every beloved character from the original cartoon. Just gone. Optimus Prime is dead. Ironhide, Prowl, Ratchet, gunned down in the first few minutes. Ultra Magnus gets wrecked, Starscream turns to literal dust, and half the cast gets eaten by a robot planet. It's the red wedding of kids' movies. And the worst part? It wasn't even the filmmakers who made those calls. It was the toy company, Hasbro, trying to clear the shelves so they could sell the new characters. It was a business decision disguised as childhood trauma. Did it work? Sort of. The movie bombed in theaters, but the damage was done. Every kid who saw it in '86 came out a little bit older and way more cynical. Next up, Gremlins, the movie that made you think twice before asking for a cute pet at Christmas. On the surface, it looks like a fun holiday movie. You've got Gizmo, this fuzzy little teddy bear gremlin voiced by Howie Mandel. But then the rules get broken and all hell breaks loose. Gremlins start hatching, multiplying, and going full psycho in the town. They stab people, electrocute them, explode in microwaves. It's chaos. And then there's that monologue. You know the one, where Phoebe Cates tells this horrifying story about how she found out Santa Claus wasn't real, because her dad died trying to surprise them by coming down the chimney dressed as Santa. He slipped, broke his neck, and nobody found him until days later. That's in a PG-rated family movie. Merry Christmas, kids. Also, motorized stairlift death, bar brawls, and gremlins blowing up in a movie theater. Joe Dante turned what should have been a cutesy creature feature into a full-on horror comedy, and it ruled. This and Temple of Doom are the movies that literally caused the MPAA to invent the PG-13 rating, because yeah, PG was not cutting it. Speaking of which, Temple of Doom. Easily the most unhinged movie in the Indiana Jones series, and that includes the one with the alien skulls. Right off the bat, we've got child slavery, human sacrifice, and one of the gnarliest scenes ever put in a PG-rated film. Molaram, the villain, rips a guy's still beating heart out of his chest while he's fully conscious, and then the guy gets lowered into lava and catches fire while still alive. This was supposed to be a fun adventure movie. There's also chilled monkey brains, eyeball soup, flaming voodoo dolls, and Harrison Ford nearly getting crushed to death in a spiked ceiling trap. And that's before we even get to the minecart chase. Spielberg and Lucas both admitted they went too far, but kids loved it. It was scary and wild and felt dangerous in a way movies don't anymore. But the backlash was real. Parents were furious. It's one of the two movies that forced the MPAA to create the PG-13 rating, and it earned that badge of honor. You think Wizard of Oz was a little creepy? This one starts with Dorothy getting sent to a psych ward for electroshock therapy. Dorothy's not skipping down yellow brick roads anymore. She's depressed, barely talking, and her aunt and uncle literally hand her over to a doctor who wants to zap her brain. She escapes just in time to end up back in Oz, except now it's a post-apocalyptic wasteland. Everyone she knew is either missing or turned to stone. There are these things called wheelers. Human-like creatures with wheels for hands and feet who screech around corners like demonic scooters. And then there's Princess Mombi, who keeps a collection of severed heads in glass cases and swaps them out whenever she wants a new look. Her body literally walks around looking for the right head to screw on. This was Disney, by the way. It bombed hard when it came out. People said it was way too dark for kids, which is true. But over the years, it found a cult following. Because for a lot of us, Return to Oz was the first time a kids' movie genuinely scared the hell out of us, and we never forgot it. Okay, Back to the Future. Total classic. Everyone loves it. It's basically the definition of 1980s popcorn entertainment. But if you actually pay attention to what's going on, it's kinda insane this ever got sold as a family movie. Like yeah, time-traveling teen, crazy scientist, save your parents' marriage, all fun stuff. But let's not gloss over the fact that half the plot is Marty trying to dodge his own mom coming on to him, and she is really into it. There's also an attempted sexual assault scene in a school parking lot, and Doc Brown gets hunted down by literal terrorists in a stolen van. And yet, this is something parents were totally fine renting for their kids, over and over, because it felt wholesome, even though it's packed with stuff that's anything but. On the surface, this is another Jim Henson fantasy adventure. Puppets, magic, a big maze, but this thing is way darker and way more adult than people usually admit. Jennifer Connelly plays a teenager on a surreal rescue mission to save her baby brother. But what she ends up dealing with? Groping hands coming out of the walls, creepy goblins, monsters that rip off their own heads, a roofie-flavored masquerade scene. And then there's David Bowie. Bowie plays Jareth, the Goblin King, and the movie goes hard on the seductive, mysterious adult energy. That character probably triggered the sexual awakening of an entire generation. He's got a commanding presence, weirdly intimate dialogue, and yeah, that codpiece. It's kind of infamous. Labyrinth gets remembered as this whimsical fantasy, but it's basically a coming-of-age story where the fantasy world is full of danger, temptation, and all kinds of confusing feelings. Henson really got away with pushing boundaries here, mostly because people trusted him from The Muppets and Sesame Street. Who Framed Roger Rabbit is a masterpiece, no doubt, but also, how was this ever marketed to kids? Directed by Zemeckis again, it's basically a hard-boiled noir with cartoons. Bob Hoskins plays a depressed, alcoholic private eye. The central mystery is about a murdered cartoon mogul, and the villain is a literal walking trauma factory. Jessica Rabbit? Iconic. But let's be honest, way too sexy for a Disney movie. She's voiced like a femme fatale, animated like a pinup, and designed to make adults uncomfortable and kids very confused. And that's the main love interest of the movie's title character. Then there's Judge Doom, played by Christopher Lloyd. He is straight up terrifying. His final form at the end? Straight nightmare fuel. Melting eyes, cartoon squeals, high-pitched screaming, it still freaks people out. Even though the movie crushed it at the box office, Disney never made a sequel. Probably because they knew they could never get away with something this unhinged again. Back to the Future Part 2 takes everything wild from the first movie and just goes even further off the rails. Instead of more lighthearted 1950s fun, we get this bleak alternate future where Biff is basically Donald Trump in a tracksuit, Marty's dad is dead, Doc's locked up in a psych ward, and Marty's mom is forced into marrying Biff, and they dress her like she's working bottle service in Vegas. It's dark, like really dark. There's gambling, corporate greed, fake news, abuse, all wrapped inside what's still somehow a PG-rated time travel movie. Zemeckis clearly wasn't trying to just redo the first one. He went cynical, he went dystopian, and at the time it threw people off. Critics were mixed on it. It felt too weird, too cold. But now, it hits way harder than the original. It's aged better, honestly, because it lines up more with the world we're actually living in now. People don't just watch it for nostalgia anymore. They watch it because it gets the chaos. It's not subtle. It's not sweet. And that's exactly why it stuck around.